G'day everyone, it's Curtis here and welcome to an On The Backwheel video. Today I'm going to compare the Yamaha Tenere 700 with the new Suzuki V-Strom 800DE. In this video I'm going to compare the two by talking about what each bike is actually designed for, compare the engines, suspensions, off-road ability, on-road ability, and then wrap it up by talking about who should actually buy which bike. Now I've been lucky that the bike before I had the Suzuki V-Strom 800 was the Yamaha Tenere 700. I actually had them both at the same time. I had the Tenere for about 2 months while I was getting this as a replacement. I then rode them back to back a couple of times to get a really good idea of how each performed. Let's start off by talking about the design philosophy of each bike and what they actually made for. You can see visually by just comparing the two side by side, the Yamaha is definitely much more off-road focused, and that's what it was designed for. It's got more ground clearance, it's got an 18-inch rear wheel. You can see that everything is really neat and tucked away, and it's just a Dakar style bike. You can even see with the seat, the Tenere has that flat rally style seat, almost dirt bike-like in how it is designed, whereas this has the kind of more sit-in touring seat. You can get a higher seat that does make it much more flat, and I'll look at doing that. You can just see that this is more of a sit-in style bike, much more comfortable and relaxed seating position, whereas the Yamaha is pretty well a big dirt bike. If we have a look at the V-Strom, it's quite low slung. Everything has got its weight down really low. It is quite compact, but just the fairing that isn't quite as tucked away as the Yamaha. The Yamaha, everything is very neat and tidy how they've done it. They really thought it out. When you put crash bars on the Yamaha, like this model here has, it really protects everything. There's not much to get damaged. The rear end on that is really neat and tidy how it's done. Whereas on the V-Strom, they've done a good job, but I would prefer if this was more tucked away. This could really be cut off here where the subframe ends. Underneath here, I took it apart the other day with Ash, the owner of the Yamaha. It's got all your bolts and everything on the subframe for accessories. So everything's hidden away in that. Whereas on the Yamaha, it's all just one piece, neat and tidy and tucked away. So there's not much to get damaged in the event of a crash. On both, they got this exhaust hanger that comes down and it is welded to the subframe. Not great in that it can get bent and it's quite vulnerable to damage. You can fix it, you can bend it back and then weld it as well, or you can just cut it off and fix it like that. But something to be aware of, they kind of need the exhaust changed. On this, you don't have as much ground clearance. It's great in that it's got a cradle, so a proper off-road cradle, so you can attach your accessories to it, like a bash plate or something like that, and it's rock solid. That's something that the Transalp doesn't have, whereas both the Tenere and this have a great base for putting your skid plate on. So comparing the two from a design perspective, the Yamaha is definitely slightly more off-road orientated, but this is a real 50-50 adventure bike just from a design perspective. Now let's talk about the engines. The Suzuki definitely has the advantage here. Well, overall it has pretty well a 100cc advantage, and it does feel like that on the street. It's much punchier. It's actually kind of quick, I would say, especially when you're using that amazing quick shifter. It's so smooth and the gearbox is amazing. Overall, it does have the advantage both on and off-road. The fueling is much better on Suzuki, especially that on-off fueling. On this, it's perfect. Fueling is fantastic. It does have that ride-by-wire feel if you're trying to do wheelies or go over jumps and stuff. Kind of can get away from you, whereas the Yamaha has that traditional style throttle that's really connected and great for modulating your throttle and doing wheelies on. It's a real hoon bike, the Tenere. Once you get it up, it's got that anti-squat technology that makes it hard to wheelie, but once you get it past that, it's very gradual, it'll just sit there. Very fun, whereas this will kind of snap up. Overall though, this is a smoother engine, it's faster, it's 100cc more. You feel that extra, I think it's about 10-15 horsepower, definitely noticeable. But the Tenere is fantastic off-road. It is a near perfect off-road engine. It's punchy, it's got grunt, not a lot of top end, but it'll still go when you cane the ass out of it up top. And it's still good enough for getting over obstacles and being silly, and will put a real grin on your face. You can power slow out of corners and do all that kind of stuff. This does that, but just does it a bit more and is smoother and has better fueling. Now let's get to our off-road capability and then we'll jump into our suspension. The Tenere is a better off-road bike. However, this is extremely capable and very surprising. Bear in mind, the Tenere I have ridden the stock Tenere in the past, but this one is slightly modified. It's got better tyres. I think with better tyres, I would ride them both at an extremely similar pace off-road. The stock tyres on this are very limiting. We're getting the Dunlop Mixed Tours. They're not great. Usually on a Yamaha, you're getting the Pirelli STRs, which are more of a 50-50 tyre and are better off-road than these. Overall on both, I'm going to replace the tyres. So factor that in. I think you should replace both. Whether you want to wear out your first set, run in your bike and get a feel for it, and then change them, it's up to you. I'm going to be changing these before my next big ride, just because they're not very good off-road. You have to be very aware of them, especially the front tyre. With them changed, I don't know if there's going to be much between them off-road. Where the Yamaha has the advantage is ground clearance. It's got much more ground clearance. Look, it's like 3 centimeters overall or something like that. It's not much, but it does make a difference. And where it also makes a difference is on the Yamaha, it's quite narrow around the engine. It has a really tall engine. I actually looked at both the schematics for them. The engine on the Yamaha is quite tall in the way it comes up. That's why it's a tall bike in general. It's just the design of actually the engine and everything goes along with it. Whereas Suzuki have tried to keep all the weight down low. Counterbalances are down low. It's got 2 counterbalances as well, so it keeps everything really down low. That is good to an extent in that it feels a lot lighter than it is. It's 230 kilos. When you're riding them, you don't notice a difference till you're in the more tricky stuff off-road, and then you're like, all right, this is a bit of a handful. Both are big bikes. You can't avoid it. I mean, the Yamaha is over 200 kilos. No matter what you do, when it gets slow and tricky, it's a handful. And this is the same, just a little bit more. It is noticeable, especially when you get airborne. Speaking of getting airborne, I think the suspension on this is better stock. It is extremely good suspension. It's too soft overall for me. I've still got to play up the clickers some more. Next ride, I'm really going to adjust it and see what I can get out of the stock suspension. The Yamaha is very skatey initially and harsh, and then it blows through stock. The one I've had has stiffer springs, so it'll take big jumps really well, but it's super harsh off-road. I will say this, if you spend $1,000 Australian on the Yamaha suspension, it becomes very, very good. Speaking from experience, and also owners' bikes, I ride with several people who own Teneres, and I've ridden with many people who rode Teneres. They say as soon as you spend the money on the suspension, it is very good and transforms the bike. No one, as far as I'm aware, has tweaked the suspension on this. It's good quality suspension, just no shops have touched it yet. I might look at that in the future. We'll see how we go. And then in the future, I'll compare a modified Tenere with a modified V-Strom once I've done modifying it, because I ride with Ash, the owner of the Tenere, and he's doing more and more mods to his, so I'll do very similar mods and then we'll compare the two. So it'd be great to see how they both compare modified. But stock, I think the suspension on the V-Strom has the upper hand both on and off-road. Is extremely good suspension. Overall though, if you want to push these things off-road, I would go the Tenere. It is a slightly more capable bike off-road. It's still a big bike. It's not an enduro bike by any means, but the suspension, very modifiable. The ground clearance, there's a bit more going on there. That narrow engine really helps, and it's easy to protect as well. On-road is where things definitely flip. This is extremely capable off-road, but on-road, it is a much better bike than the Tenere. For starters, the suspension is fantastic on-road. It's so smooth and compliant. It's kind of soft and supple, but still manages to be firm. They've done a great job there with the suspension. And the engine has got that extra punch and better fueling. That on-off fueling I was talking about before on the Yamaha, that's quite noticeable on-road, not so much off-road. You'll be coming into mid-corner, off-throttle and go on, and it'll go and really offset your balance a bit, and it's quite unnerving. I'm not sure if people are fixing that with tuning, but I'm speaking from stock perspective. This definitely has much better fueling. And some people may not care about this, but the electronics on this are fantastic. The traction control works great, the ABS works great, and then your engine max actually make a difference. I do love that on the Yamaha, especially off-road, it's only got ABS and you can turn it all off with the push of a button. This off-road, I didn't mention that before, you can't turn everything off, which I think is a bit of an oversight. The engine maps on these though make a big difference, and all of them are super easy to use, including the dash. The dash is fantastic and a definite improvement. It's much more modern than Yamaha's. And this has a quick shift to stock, and it works absolutely fantastic. It is one of the best quick shifters I've ever used. Up and down, auto blipper down, it is great. And the gearbox itself is a joy to use. On the highway as well, this is just much more comfortable. The seat is great. You're really sitting in, it's like a lounge chair. It is a little bit low for me. I will be getting the higher seat and trying that out. I am 6 foot, so if you're shorter, this is a great option because you can touch really easy, whereas the Yamaha is very tall and ungainly to begin with. When you first ride the Yamaha, it feels, well, to me, very awkward. It's tall, it's kind of top heavy feeling, the tank's way up here, the handlebars are higher, you're really on top of it, it's like a massive dirt bike. You do get used to it after a couple of rides and then it feels pretty well natural. Whereas on the Suzuki, I find immediately, especially on the street, you just feel comfortable. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people and how neutral it feels, especially on the street. On the highway, this also has an advantage. They both don't have great wind protection. This, I like that the wind kind of hits you in the middle of the chest, so there's no buffeting whatsoever. So it gives you the protection around here, but your head's just in the wind. I prefer that than having a screen that hits you right in the middle of the face. The Yamaha, you can get the bigger screen, and this, you can also get the bigger screen. On the highway and open roads, I think this is better in that you got that little bit more punch. I find the Yamaha is just that little bit lacking on road. You need that little bit more overtaking punch. It's completely fine. This just has that little bit more when you want to do some overtaking, and it puts a real grin on your face as well. The Yamaha, I said it before, it's more of a hooligan bike. Like if you want to do wheelies on the street, not that you should, or jump curbs and hit speed bumps at speed, it is a lot of fun. Whereas this is much more sensible feeling on the road, but it's got that bit more punch and it's smoother and performs much better on the highway. In the corners, I say this has a slight advantage to the lower weight and central of gravity. It feels a little bit lower. At first, the Yamaha is a little bit tippy, but overall they're both good handling bikes on the street. So who should buy each bike? Well, if you're really off-road focused, you should go for the Yamaha. It's very simple. You can turn electronics off. The suspension's very modifiable. We only need to spend $1,000 on it and everything is extremely well protected, and you've got that bit more ground clearance. So I would go that way. This is a much better street bike and is more of a 50-50 adventure bike. Still extremely capable off-road. I'm very keen to see how capable it can be once it's modified with better tyres and everything else done. But this is more of your 50-50 adventure bike, and I think Suzuki have really hit a sweet spot. You got the Touareg and a Tenere, which are just fantastic off-road, whereas this is a bit more of that middle ground where it's great for riding to and from work, extremely good on the highway, yet still capable off-road. Which would you choose, people? Would you choose the Suzuki V-Strom? Would you choose the Tenere? Let me know in the comments down below. I think both are fantastic bikes. Too early to say which is better. I'm really liking the Suzuki V-Strom though, and I'm so keen to ride it more. All right, everyone, if you haven't, click that subscribe button. I bought the Suzuki V-Strom, so there's going to be a ton more content on that, and I'm going to do a adventure build on it. Should be a lot of fun. All right, keep it on the back wheel, everyone. Catches.